Now, the Subway Final Word.
A lot of coaches nowadays, you're a means to an end. A player is a means to an end, getting them to the next level. Either it's a coach being a D coordinator being a head coach. And for Coach LeBeau, he cared about us as individually, as people, cared about our families and our children, and we knew that. And in my opinion, and you'll talk to a lot of players, when a coach cares about you as an individual, not just a means to an end, you play harder for him.
Former Steelers nose tackle Chris Hoke talking about the resignation and legacy of defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau. Good evening. I'm Albie Oxenrider. Welcome to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV right here every Sunday night. And let's get started by introducing you to the five-star panel. Tonight's three panelists, the afternoon host at 105.9 The X, Mark Madden.
5 stars right here, Albie. Woo!
Internationally famed columnist and author and veteran TV sportscaster John Steigerwald.
4 stars.
4 stars. And from Trib Total Media, filling out our bearded panel tonight.
Does this count as a beard? That thing he's got there?
I guess it counts. It's some facial hair.
Right.
What do you think, Rob Rossi?
Freak out. Freak out.
All right. That's, of course, Rob Rossi, columnist for the Trib. We start with the big topic tonight. Dick LeBeau's resignation as Steelers defensive coordinator. We found out about it from a small-town newspaper in Ohio, and it was several hours before the Steelers posted anything about it. Also some speculation about whether the Steelers were surprised or not. What is your opinion on how the Steelers are handling the departure of Coach Dick LeBeau? Mark Madden, start us off.
I'm not bothered at all, Albie. The Steelers are the employer. Dick LeBeau is the employee. He's had a great run here. I would have kept him, but I can see the reasons for letting him go. Keith Butler's 58 years old. He's been waiting an awful long time to succeed Dick LeBeau. Furthermore, the Steelers are going to have a massive turnover on defense next season. How would LeBeau have handled that? Might he have stuck with veterans too long? I think he did that this year, maybe even last year. So if you're going to make a clean break and make big changes with that defense, perhaps it's better to do it without Dick LeBeau. He's a great coach. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. Every accolade he gets, he'll deserve. But I think it's just time.
John Steigerwald.
I think it stinks. Not so much. Well, I don't think they should have gotten rid of him, number one. I think they should have kept him. I think his age is irrelevant. Maybe that's because he's not that much older than I am. But he's the youngest 77-year-old man possibly on the planet Earth. So his age should have nothing to do with it. And anytime a coach is fired for me or resigns, in quotes, with me, it's a case of, can you find a guy who can improve on that? And I don't know that that's going to be easy to do. What's interesting to me also is that if Butler is 58, if not for the fact that LeBeau is 77, people would be raising questions about him being too old at 58. He looks young only because he's maybe replacing a guy who's 77. And I don't like the phony way it was handled. He deserved better than that. If they don't have the guts to say they fired him, then he should stay.
All right, Rob Rossi, what do you think?
Well, I don't like the way it's been handled, but I also think it's absolutely the right call. This defense has regressed the last 2 years, and despite them improving as the season went on, it wasn't necessarily evidence that it was improving because the scheme got any better. Dick LeBeau and all the defensive coaches did a very good job getting guys on that defense to improve. But somebody has to pay the price for this defense being far below the Steelers' standard for the past 40 years. This was the worst defense this organization has had since before Joe Green. Somebody had to pay the price, and somebody had to be Dick LeBeau because it wasn't going to be the head coach.
All right, we're going to have you react to some comments on social media. A reminder to keep the comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word and on Facebook at The Final Word. Here's a comment from Josh. Typical Steelers, awkward, clumsy mismanagement of a coaching transition. Who's making these decisions? Mark, should LeBeau have at least received a news conference?
Well, Josh, I'll tell you who's making these decisions. The people who own the team. What they do is their business, none of yours, and barely LeBeau's. Should he have gotten a news conference? Probably. I would think, knowing Dick LeBeau, he didn't want one. But the defense ranked in the middle of the pack in terms of points allowed and yards allowed. And it might be nice to suggest that legends get to go out on their own terms. It's also illogical.
Something to keep in mind real quick is that neither Mike Tomlin or Bill Cowher would have sniffed a Super Bowl without Dick LeBeau.
All right, you can expound on that a little bit if you want, Stag.
No.
We're going to stick with this one question.
Well, the Steelers have not been to a Super Bowl without either Dick LeBeau or Chuck Noll on the staff. So at 95, he was the defensive coordinator, and for the three Super Bowls since then, he was the defensive coordinator. Without that defense, those guys don't go to Super Bowls.
That's
Sorry.
a long time ago.
Well, yeah.
All right, Rob Rossi.
Well, good coaches get fired all the time if you underachieve. I mean, we've seen it in this town, and we'll see it again. Here's the thing, though. Every time you go into the Steelers locker room and the defense performs poorly, you hear the same thing. Well, it takes young guys a while to learn this defense. If it's going to take young guys 2 years to learn the defense, change the defense.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to look at a different angle of the story. Was Dick LeBeau given the right players to succeed in the last few seasons? Steve-O says the secondary is the Achilles heel, and LeBeau did not get much help from draft or free agency. Never replaced Hampton either. Thanks for that tweet. We'll be back to debate more on that topic and more of the Subway Final Word right after this.